Okay, so what we've found is that a lot of students have been a little bit disappointed with the marks they've gotten for their short answer section. And that's kind of to be predicted when you do your trials, because you haven't really done any practice on short answer questions since year 11, right? There's so much focus throughout the year on like common module essay, and then you've got module A, module B, module C, and then there's not a lot that goes into doing the short answer question because you just don't really get assessed on it until trial. So you just don't have the practice. So now's the time to really get that practice up. And so what we've done is we're just going to go through a couple of tips on how you can get through these short answer questions really well and get as many marks as possible for that section. So over to you, Lily.
Okay, great. All right. So the first thing to think about is always to know how many pieces of evidence that you need and how long your response needs to be, depending on how many marks it's worth. So a really easy rule to remember is that however many marks it's worth, -1, and that's generally how many quotes you need. So for a 3-marker, you generally need 2 pieces of evidence. The only time that I would say there is an exception is the longer comparative questions at the end, which are often 6 or 8 markers. In that case, my students have tended to find minusing 2, so doing about 4 quotes for a 6-marker or 6 for an 8-marker is generally enough, because you're getting more analysis, you're getting more marks from the introduction and the conclusion and the structure as well there, so you can get away with getting a little bit less analysis with that rule. Okay, but approaching your short answer questions, generally you can follow these rules. So always highlight the keywords of the question first before you read the extract, because that again means that you're going to be looking and approaching the extract really purposefully, knowing exactly what you're looking for. I also recommend writing out some synonyms for the keywords and some little notes to yourself before you start, knowing how it relates to the extract. So when you start writing, you know exactly how you're going to approach that question and know exactly what it means and what you're looking for and need to identify when you're writing. So those are the first 2 rules. For the third one, you need to identify how the question applies to the stimulus and specifically how the words apply. So look at the things like the experiences, the emotions, and the assumptions evident in the text and write them out for yourself, because that's going to allow you to approach the question knowing exactly how the stimulus relates to what they're asking of you. Finally, write your topic sentence first and write it really thoroughly. That clearly answers the question. Remember to expand on the keywords, linking it to the extract, not just regurgitating the keywords. Remember to consistently link back to the question, the effects part of your analysis. Don't just forget about the question after you've written a clear topic sentence. You need to be consistently linking to the keywords. You don't have to use all the keywords in every piece of analysis, but you should have at least one in every technique that you talk about, and maybe you can alternate them or use some synonyms, but they should be present in all of those effects. Finally, also, it's really important to remember to analyze the specific effect of the technique. So sometimes when you get in there, it's really easy to just go, oh, that's a simile, and here's the link to the question, without really talking about why that simile was purposeful and why it was a comparison that allowed it to convey its purpose. So remember the key rules, that there are words that apply to those different techniques that help you to be able to really analyze the effect of them. So hyperbole and repetition emphasize things, metaphor and similes compare. Those are just some easy ones to remember that those words will guide you to be able to really analyze the effect of those techniques.
Awesome. And the key thing is you've just got to practice them, you know, like put the timer on, see how far you get in the time. You got, you know, your 40 minutes, maybe in your practice, you can add 5 minutes because you've got that 5 minutes reading time. But really like do papers under exam conditions as much as possible. And, you know, that's really the best way to get good at anything, right, is practice. So, thank you so much, Lily. And one of the things I did want to mention to you guys is that we will be looking for tutors when everything's done for the HSC. So if you think that, you know, you've done well and you'd like to then pass some of your knowledge on to the next cohort or other students, and, you know, you think that would, be of interest to you, make sure you apply with us after you get your results back.